earning per share. Listen everyone, we studied that in financial management unit 1 ratios chapter also. EPS, in brief it's called as EPS. It was one of the ratios out of that 2021 ratios. So anyone who remembers the formula of EPS we studied at that time? Yes, PAT minus preference dividend upon base. Okay, now entire concept we discussed once again. That was only a small ratio to be obtained. But here you have the whole chapter on that. So many more new minute points are to be understood related to that. That will understand. The whole concept we'll do today, and we'll take up with few objective examples of finding weighted average number of equity shares. First of all, the chapter is divided in two parts, wherein the first part is called basic EPS. Now, second part is called diluted EPS. Presently we concentrate only on basic EPS. When we come to diluted EPS, I'll explain you what is the difference between the two. Okay. First part of the chapter is basic EPS. Now, first of all, when we say earning per share, shares are of two types, equity shares and preference shares. Here we are talking about equity shares. When we say earning per share, we are talking about earning per equity share. Means you have to see the entire scenario from whose point of view? You have to see it from equity shareholders' point of view. Is everyone clear with this? Now, earning per share is a very simple concept. We have to find the earnings. Earnings means profits of the company per equity share. How much profit is available for one equity share? That is what we are required to find. But we have to see from whose point of view? Equity shareholders. So which profits will be available for equity shareholders? Equity shareholders are the main owners of the company. They get the profits at the end after you give and distribute to everyone else outside parties. So finally, which profit would be available for equity shareholders? First, from the profits you will pay the tax. So profit after tax. They will first pay preference dividend. Then first you will pay the amount of preference dividend. Preference dividend, the name is preference because we get preference over the dividend against equity shareholders. So whatever profits remain, first you get preference dividend. After giving that, whatever amount remains is for whom? Equity shareholders. So first of all, what earnings or profits are available for equity shareholders? Profit after tax minus preference dividend. Okay. And then divided by per share. How can you obtain when you divide by number of shares? But here number of shares, the problem is the numerator is profit, which is a flow concept. Flow concept means profit is between April to March. Profit earned is during the year. So you cannot divide it by the number of shares on 31st March, end of the year. Because the numerator, which is profit, which is a flow concept during the year, the denominator, it should be compared also with the shares during the year. So how do you find the shares during the year? Weighted average number of equity shares. Means we take into consideration what was the shares opening balance, for how many months or days we are using that. In between, if shares have increased, then for how many days we have used or months we have used that increased shares. If it has decreased, then for how many days or months we have used the balance number of shares. That will give you the shares during the year. That will give you the number of shares during the year. So to make the profits comparable with shares, what do you do in shares? Instead of directly taking the shares on 31st March, you take weighted average number of equity shares. Because numerator profit is a flow concept during the year. So denominator shares also should be a flow concept during the year. So how do you find number of shares during the year? Weighted average number of equity shares. Is everyone clear with this portion? So main formula of basic EPS, let us write down first. Right now, basic EPS is equal to profits attributable to equity shareholders divided by weighted average number of equity shares. This is a basic formula, okay? Whatever is the profit attributable to means available for equity shareholders, that will be divided by weighted average number of equity shares. Why do we take weighted average number of equity shares? To make it a flow concept. Numerator is a profit which is between April to March. So we have to divide it by the shares also which are between April to March. How do you find on an average what are the number of shares between April to March? Weighted average number of equity shares. Understood that? Now first we understand this concept one, profits attributable to equity shareholders. How to find that we understand it first. Okay, so put it as now. How do we find profits attributable to equity shareholders? First of all, we'll have profits after tax. If profits after tax are not available, then we already know how to find that. Means from the normal profits, you'll subtract interest, you'll get PBT. From that, you'll subtract tax, you'll get PAT. So profits after tax will be available. From that, we'll subtract preference dividend. So as we used to write, even in ratios formula, PAT minus preference dividend. But regarding preference dividend, two things are to be kept in mind. Raise your hand. What are cumulative preference shares against non-cumulative? What are cumulative preference shares? No, they are convertible preference shares. What are cumulative preference shares? Cumulative means if the company earns less profit or incurs loss in any particular year, then company cannot give dividend to preference shareholders in that year. Now what happens in cumulative is that dividend gets accumulated and gets carried forward to next year. Suppose next year again the company incurs loss or earns less profit and cannot give dividend, then both the years dividend will be accumulated and carried forward to third year. Now if in the third year company earns profit, first it has to give the dividend of last 2 years. Then it will give preference dividend of that year. Then turn of equity shareholders will come. So in case 6-7 years company incurs loss, then all 6-7 years preference dividend will get accumulated. Means cumulative preference shareholders are definitely going to get the dividend today or tomorrow. 8th year if the company earns profit, then first it will give the dividend of last all 6-7 years. Until that all backlog is cleared and that year's dividend is also given to preference shareholders, equity shareholders are not going to get anything. Did you understand this? Now, this is a new point which you did not have in financial management. When you subtract preference dividend, you take care that if you have cumulative preference shares, then you will subtract fixed dividend. Means if it is mentioned 12% cumulative preference shares, then you will minus 12% dividend. If it is given 15% cumulative preference shares, then you will minus 15% dividend. And dividend is counted on share capital, not on profits. Okay. And if it is non-cumulative preference shares, then you will subtract proposed dividend. If it is non-cumulative preference shares, then you will subtract proposed dividend. Okay. Once again, on cumulative preference shares you will subtract fixed dividend. On non-cumulative preference shares you will subtract proposed. So suppose you have 15% non-cumulative preference shares. And because of less profits, dividend proposed is only 10%. Okay, non-cumulative we have 15%. But because of less profits, proposed dividend is only 10%. Then we will subtract only 10%. Because they are non-cumulative, they will forget 5%. They will not get that 5% in future also. But suppose we have 15% cumulative preference shares and proposed is 10%. Even then you will subtract 15% dividend. Because remaining 5% company has to give to the preference shareholders. If not today, then tomorrow. So that much profit for the equity shareholders is going to decrease. Understood this concept? So if in the question we have cumulative preference shares, then we always subtract fixed dividend which is given in the main question, mentioned in the question. And if we have non-cumulative preference shares, then you subtract proposed dividend. Is everyone clear with it? And then what you will get is profits attributable to equity shareholders. Any confusion in this? All are clear with it? Now what is our denominator? Weighted average number of equity shares. How to find weighted average number of equity shares? Understand it? We'll be calling it as weights. Okay. If you remember, we used to make workings even in financial management for this. First column was date, then particulars, then number of shares, then balance, then weights, and then weights. When in weights was the time period. Okay. So these columns 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Then I discuss few points over here in this column. That is, in particulars, if you have issue of shares, then you add it to get the balance. Opening balance or previous balance plus issue of shares. Then we discuss even if there are bonus shares, you add it to get the balance. But if there is buyback of shares, then you will minus to get the balance. And in case if there are convertible debentures or preference shares converted into debentures, equity shares, convertible debentures or preference shares converted into equity shares, then equity shares balance will increase or decrease. If debentures or preference shares are converted into equity shares, balance of equity shares will increase. So this also you will add to get the balance. And then weights will be obtained as balance multiplied by weights. Is everyone of you clear with this? So how will we obtain the weights? By making this workings. What all columns will make? Date, particulars, number of shares, balance, weights and weights. Here opening balance will start. After opening balance, if during the year there is issue of shares, we will add. Bonus shares we will add, and even convertible debentures or preference shares converted into equity shares we will add. Only buyback of shares we have to minus. Is everyone clear with this? Any confusions with this? Now I have to explain you some points regarding bonus shares and partly paid up preference shares. But you first note down this, then we'll discuss that and make you write down. So any confusions up till here? Numerator and denominator both is clear out of it? Anyone still writing it? Raise your hand. Okay, now. Be attentive. Yes, silence everyone, be attentive. 3 points to be understood regarding the number of shares. First, bonus shares. See, bonus shares is something where the number of shares increases without getting direct benefit to the company. It is in the benefit of only shareholders. Meaning to say, if company gives bonus shares, suppose company issue the shares, then what happens? Company issues shares of 10 lakh rupees. Then from the public, company is getting 10 lakh rupees, shares are increasing. That 10 lakh rupees company invests in the company business. From that 10 lakhs they generate profit. But suppose company gives bonus shares of 10 lakhs. Means free of cost. Is company getting any money? Company is not getting any money. Nothing is getting invested in the business. But shareholders' wealth is increasing. That's why the company gives bonus. Because their wealth depends on the market price of shares. So when you give the bonus, initially the market price drops down. Then it comes back to the same level. So over a period of time their wealth increases. But does the company get any money? No, nothing gets invested. So company is giving it only for the benefit of shareholders. But what happens? When you divide by the number of shares including bonus shares, then because the denominator increases, will the earning per share decrease or not? Wrong impression goes to the shareholder. That last year EPS was 25 rupees suppose. This year company gave bonus shares. So because you have divided by more number of shares, EPS from 25 has come down to 15. Because of bonus shares it has come down. Actually the profits have increased only. But because you are dividing by more number of shares, it is showing less EPS. Now, why should company take the discredit of something which the company is doing good for the shareholders only? So here, as per the accounting standard on EPS, the rule is when you report to the shareholders, then last year's EPS also you will not report 25. You report last year's EPS also including bonus shares. Now the shareholders will get correct impression. So suppose last year also we include the same bonus shares. Then instead of 25 the EPS comes down to 10 rupees. Then instead of 25 for the last year you report 10. For the current year you report 15. The correct impression or correct profitability will be highlighted in the same. So the rule is, whenever we report to the shareholders, bonus shares are included from the earliest period reported. From the earliest period reported. If you report to the shareholder last 5 years data, then include all the bonus shares of 5 years from the last 5th year. Means, suppose 2017, you report from 2012. In between you gave some bonus in 2014. Again you gave some bonus in 2016 and then again in 2017. Then all the 3 bonuses, 14th bonus, 16th bonus, 17th bonus, you include from 2012. So 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, all the years will include same number of shares. Then the correct trend of profitability will be revealed to the shareholders. Did everyone understand this? And why also the logic behind the same? Okay, because bonus shares means number of shares in the denominator are increasing, but because company does not get any money, profit does not increase, and that discredit should not go to the. Is everyone clear with it? So what will you remember regarding bonus shares? It will be included from the earliest period reported. And when you are making this table, then between April to March, which is the earliest period, when you are making this table for the current year, April to March, then in April to March, which is the earliest period, between April 1st to 31st March, which is the earliest period, 1st April. So whatever date the bonus shares are issued, irrespective of that, in this table you always take the bonus shares from 1st April. Even if they are issued on 1st October, when we make Wales calculation, you take the date as 1st April. Whatever date is given, ignore that. Is everyone clear with this? Supra download 1. Bonus shares will always be included from the earliest period reported. Any confusion with this? Okay, first off, in the table of weights, always take it from 1st April, irrespective of its date of issue. Any confusions? Irrespective of its date of issue. And in case if it's calendar year, then take it from 1st January. All okay with this? Now second point is regarding partly paid up shares. Be read. Suppose in the opening balance we have 10,000 equity shares of rupees. Suppose in the opening balance we have 10,000 equity shares of rupees 10 each fully paid up. Okay, so 10,000 equity shares of 10 each fully paid up means what company has received the amount regarding the opening balance? 1 lakh. Okay. Now suppose company has further issued during the year 5,000 shares of 10 each. But company has called application money, allotment money, call money. Final call is remaining. 8 rupees is called on 5,000 shares. Means how much is called up 5,000 into 8? 40,000. Now practically in the company you are investing 50,000 or 40,000? 40,000, and 10,000 you are going to invest in future. Now 10,000 shares are fully paid up, so you have included 10,000. But 5,000 shares we cannot directly add 5,000 because their 2 rupees is still to be received in future. So as if that shares were fully paid up, they would be equal to how many number of shares? Can I say 4,000? 5,000 into 8. They have paid how much amount to the company? 40,000. So if they were fully paid up 10 rupees, then they would be equivalent to how many number of shares? 4,000. So now when you add this issue of shares of 5,000, we will not add 5,000, we will add 4,000. Means we will consider as if we have only 4,000 shares in the basket of the company. So 10,000 plus 4,000, 14,000. Because that much money is only going in the investment, 40,000 is only going in the business. And accordingly the profits are generated. In future, when they pay you 2 rupees, then from that date onwards, instead of 4,000 shares, you will count 5,000 shares. Okay, this all reporting standards are done so that the correct image of the company goes in the shareholders. True image of the company goes in the shareholders. Did anyone understand this? So what will you do when the shares are partly paid up? you convert them into number of shares which are fully paid up. And very simple, how you convert it? 5,000 shares into 8 rupees. How much is paid up? 40,000. If they were fully paid up 10 rupees, then divided by 10, they'll be equal to how many shares? 4,000. So instead of 5,000 shares, you'll take 4,000. Is everyone clear with it? So second note, if there are partly paid up shares, then make it equivalent to fully paid up shares. Make it equivalent to fully paid up shares and adjust the number of shares accordingly. Means how will you take it be ended? Number of shares, that is 5,000 into paid up value, that is how much? 8 rupees divided by face value, that is 10 rupees. So instead of 5,000 shares, you will take 4,000 shares. Understood this? Whenever there are partly paid up shares, we'll use this formula and take the number of shares and adjust the number of shares as if they are, and same rule you will apply when there are, third point, last point, two different categories of shares with different face value. Suppose company has 20,000 equity shares of 10 each, fully paid up, and 30,000 equity shares of 7 each, fully paid up. One share's face value is 10. Another category of shares face value is 7. Now you cannot take the total number of shares 20,000 plus 30,000, 50,000, because in one shares 20,000 into 10 you are getting 2 lakhs, and in another shares 30,000 into 7 you are not getting 3 lakhs, you are getting only 2 lakh 10,000. So either you take both the shares with face value 7, or you take both the shares with face value 10. Which is more ideal? 10 rupees is the best face value, general face value. 30,000 shares of 7 each means what is the total share capital? 30,000 shares of 7 each. So what is the total share capital? 2,10,000. If they were 10 rupees shares, then they would be equivalent to how many number of shares? 21,000. So instead of 30,000 shares, we will take 21,000 shares. Means we will take both the shares with same face value, considering as if they are of same face value, and you will adjust the number of shares accordingly. Did you understand this? And ideally take the shares face value, which one? 10 rupees. So that on the last note, if there are shares with different face values, adjust the number of shares considering them of same face value.